And we're back tonight and talking with Mark Snyder, who is the executive producer and the host of the Singles Lifeline on WTTP AM radio, which is where on your dial?
1060 on the dial.
1060. And from what time to what time are you heard?
Actually, right after the ABC News at 7:05 to 10 o'clock.
7:05. What a good time to be.
It's a great time to start a show, I'll tell you.
Okay. Mark, what are the ages and the sex, the gender breakdown of your viewers like?
Okay,
listeners like?
Okay. The average age of my listener is 34, and 60% are divorced, 70% are professional applications, 95% are college educated, and about 55% are women and 45% are men.
That's interesting. Do men and women ask different kinds of questions when it comes down to what they feel is important in meeting people, in dating people?
Good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. In the dating segment of the show, it's very interesting. Men, about 90% of the time, the thing that they want the most is a physical thing.
A breakdown
they
of
want,
blue eyes, whatever.
They want, you know, someone with auburn hair or someone that looks like Cheryl Teagues, which is ridiculous. You know? But, and the women that come on, they want someone who's honest and has integrity, because a lot of the women that come on have been married already to these handsome guys who treated them like dirt, so now they want some ugly guy to treat them nice. So.
Oh, that's awful.
A little joke there.
What about the sensitive male, though? You hear so much about the sensitive male. Do you find him breaking through and picking up the phone and calling?
Yeah, we have some sensitive people. In fact, the sensitive people, the men that are sensitive and show sensitivity, seem to do better initially on the dating part of the show than the guys who come across as very macho. I think that is really going out tubes.
Do you still get a lot of macho guys calling up on the phone?
A few,
and say things?
yeah.
Really? How do you treat them? How do you, as the host, treat them when they call up?
I treat them like all the rest. I harass them.
You harass them?
I harass all listeners.
Do you get into harassing the people who listen?
But not in a vicious way, in a fun way. You know?
That brings up an interesting point. You know, the guy that was murdered out, the radio talk show host out in the western part of the country. Do you ever worry about that? Because when you harass someone on the air, you tread a very fine line there.
Well, I have never had you know, a listener call and complain about it, because they enjoy. I do it mildly, but I have had death threats though.
You have had death threats?
Yes, I have. I've had 3 or 4
you take them seriously?
I took one of them seriously. I called the police on it, and it was a little bit after that talk show host got killed. So it was from a quote-unquote Arab extremist group. And I don't know why they called me,
no.
But they did.
A nice Jewish guy, why would they want to call you?
But,
dating services, the kinds of things that you hear from your listeners with regard to dating services, other kinds of services that are offered in the Boston area have been what? What kind of feedback do they give you?
Well, some dating services have been pretty good, but I think the most of them, the ones that want a lot of money right in advance, I'd stay away from if I was most people.
Pay here, then sign.
Yeah, a lot of them do that, and a lot of them also tell you they're going to get you the perfect person, and they really don't. I don't think they discriminate enough when they're fixing people up. But it's a tough job, you know, and it does fulfill a need. Some people just don't have the time to go running around to bars and things. They don't want to call up a radio show. They don't want to place a classified ad. What choice do they have? They go to a dating service, and some of them are good. I mean, they've had some success, so.
What do you think qualifies you to be a dating service kind of person, to be able to match people up? Because actually you're being subjective and figuring that person A goes with person B. What qualifies you to do that?
Well, I have a psychology background, and deep psychological problems, too. So
and that there would qualify you to be able to do it.
And I've been single all my life, so I know what it's like to be out there. And I can tell usually by talking to someone for a few minutes. I did counseling for 4 years at a drop-in center, and I can tell if a person's got some severe emotional problems when I'm talking to them on the phone.
You know what's going on.
Yeah, and if they do, I send them to another station to call.
Or you go out with them.
No, I go off. That was rude.
Do you ever go out with anyone who calls up on the air and who you think maybe is...
That's a rule of mine. I don't. No.
Never?
No.
Conflict of interest?
Yeah, I have gone out with some women who called to inquire about the Singles Lifeline if I talk to them and I like them, but I have a rule that if they go on the air, then I don't go near them.
I heard something about a contest where marry the host or get the host married. You better spell this out to me, because my eyebrows raised more than a couple of inches over this one. What did this have to do with?
That was something that the station was putting on. I canceled it immediately. I just had no part of it.
It wanted absolutely nothing to do with it?
No.
They were trying to get you married off.
Yeah, I think that most people feel that you're better off married, but...
Not you. You're enjoying it.
We got hundreds of thousands of requests, but I had to turn them all over to my friends.
This guy's rough. This guy's really rough. What about sex? Do you hear a lot of questions that come over the lines about sex?
Not necessarily.
Having to do with?
Some people... We had a show once on when you should have sex when dating.
How quickly into dating?
Yeah, and we had some authors that said you should have it in the first date and get it over with so that you can concentrate on getting to know others.
Get it over with?
Get it over with. This is his exact...
As if it was some sort of horrendous thing you have to get over with?
This is his exact words. Get it over with so that you can get on to better things like getting to know someone. We had other authors that said that you should wait until you get to know each other and make it a beautiful thing, which it is.
What do your listeners tend to
And
think?
I think that they tend to think that they should wait a little while. I do. I believe that you should wait a little while and get to know someone, because if you have just sex with no emotional ties, then it's not as fulfilling.
You think we're becoming more sexually conservative that way from where we were maybe 5 or 10 years back?
I think so. And what you mentioned before about herpes probably does come into it in the background of your mind.
Yeah, that would do it, I think.
Yeah.
Breaking up can be a really hard thing to do. I sound like an old, horrendous song, don't I? But do you hear that a lot from the listeners?
From Neil
as well?
Sedaka, I do. But
yeah, Neil Sedaka coined the phrase,
but,
I think, but
I don't know. I don't hear that too much. It's a cliche, and most people on my show don't talk in cliches.
they don't.
No.
Do they ever talk about this loneliness, though, of actually breaking up with a relationship?
Yeah, they do. The people that call right after a breakup, are at that point in their lives, they really aren't ready for dating on the air or even dating, because they're hurting too much. You really got to wait till some of the sores kind of close up a little bit and heal before you can start dating again. It's a difficult experience.
Do you get the younger listeners, if you do get people who are 19, 20, 21, college age, listening to your show, the few that do they have different kinds of concerns than
They
the
call
older
up for dates, too. I don't put anybody on under 25 or so.
You
Because
don't?
there's no need for that. These people, 18, 19 years old, can go to a bar and find a good time, you know. A lot of them aren't ready to settle down anyway. But when you're in your mid-20s and 30s and stuff like that, you're looking for a little bit something different.
Are we seeing people, do you think, as they get older and are single, differently than we have in the past? Are we recognizing the fact that yeah, they're still marketable? I hate the word, but they're marketable and older and single?
Single people as a whole are being recognized now more because there's so many of them. 1/3 of the adult population is single. There's now newspapers, 5 newspapers in Boston for single people.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you publish a newsletter, is that right?
I publish a newsletter for my listeners.
What's it called?
It's called the Singles Lifeline Newsletter. Very creative title.
That is, you know, you
Yeah.
are such a creative
Well,
bundle of
yeah,
joy to
yeah.
be around. What about Boston as compared to other parts of the country and singles' lifestyles? You've probably done research with regard to that.
I have friends out. California, for instance, it's really strange. Women complain in Boston that the men go out with them, have sex with them, and then dump them. Okay,
That's what you hear from
That's
here in
what I hear
Boston.
from people that, you know, as soon as they have sex, you know, it's all over. Sex must have been great if they do that. But anyway, in California, I understand that the women go out with the men, and as soon as they have sex, they dump the men.
So you don't know.
So it's different parts of the country.
Different
you know.
strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I was in Wisconsin, and the singles market there was nothing. It was everybody's so conservative. There's a bar in every corner. Everybody goes there and just gets blasted, and that's about it.
And that's it.
That's the
where it
singles
goes.
life. And you know, if you meet each other while you're falling on the floor, then you have a relationship.
Funniest story. I think that your mother's story is a funny one. The fact that
She
your
wouldn't
mother
think it's
missing.
funny.
Well, it's a nice
ironic,
romantic
maybe.
story. Yeah, it is
Funny.
a little ironic. But tell us the funniest story you can think of.
The funniest story I can think of is a woman that a man that called up and said, "I want to complain to you." And I said, "This is on the air." And I said, "Okay." He says, "You fixed me up with a girl last week." And I said, "Well, okay." He says, "She was ugly, really. She was a dog." I said, "Well, you know, what can I'm sorry. You know, we don't."
Was she a nice person?
Wait a second. I said we don't check AKC registrations, and I said that she's probably a very nice person to get on in the first place, and that's kind of shallow. So he said, "Well, I just didn't think she was good looking." I said, "Well, I don't think that's the most important thing in the world anyway."
Darn
well,
tootin'.
He hangs up.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, the phone rings, and a woman calls. He was uglier than I could ever be.
He should talk. That
she
kind
was
of thing.
she was calling about him. It was pretty funny.
That is awful.
Yeah, but on the air though.
But it was funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
We've had some very strange calls on the air.
I must admit, I have never heard the show. I'm going to have to tune in sometime. I'm
Well,
not
I never heard
single.
Joe's either, so we're even.
Well, we're now, and now you've seen it as well.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yes, thank you. We'll take a break and be back with much more exchange after this. Do stay tuned for more this evening.